No intro, no BS. Let's jump right into the good stuff. Number 1, create. The number 1 step in this model is create. As you can see on your screen right now, this is the phase where everything seems possible to entrepreneur. In this phase, on this J curve, startups are in their infancy stage, but their founders are filled with dreams. They don't know the hurdles which are waiting for them in the future. In this step, we will learn how to create the right team, structure, company, and how to raise funds. But hey, nothing is perfect without a perfect approach, right? These days, I have observed many people think that the ideas are everything. To become successful, you need to have a solid idea. And that is true. But guess what? This is not true at all. Ideas is just the tip of an iceberg. If you don't know how to execute it properly, then it's just a waste of time. There are hundreds of revolutionary ideas that have been failed in the past just because of no proper planning, roadmap like that. The value of idea is low because of two reasons. Number 1, the vast majorities of idea don't go as planned. Number 2, no startups succeed without a massive amount of actions. Without a proper execution, even the greatest ideas have failed. Here's a dirty little secret about the ideas which I think you should know. Many ideas that are born by highly successful companies didn't seem so great when these companies were in initial stage. The misconception about the value of an idea begins when the product hits and people say,
"Oh, I had the same idea years ago. If I had done something about it, I would be rich."
But that's not the case all the time. In reality, it's not the idea that creates huge empire as much as how the idea has been executed. Simplicity and execution were the keys to success, not the raw grade ideas. You have to keep your idea simple and clean as possible. The more you make it complicated, the more difficult it will get. No, you don't have to be next Uber to create a successful startup. You only have to focus on these 3 areas. Number 1, product services that solves a problem. Number 2, a visionary breakthrough product. Apple CEO Tim Cook had described this product as something you didn't know you wanted, and then once you got it, you can't imagine your life without it. And most of the Apple products fall into this category. Look at the Facebook, for example. Facebook didn't solve any world problem, but why he is so successful? Because Facebook falls under this category. Most of the Facebook addict can't live a day without using Facebook. They didn't even know why they need that app, but after using it, they can't imagine their life without it. This type of product is very rare to find. That's why it is very effective. Now, the bad news is that the failure rate is higher for this category than the previous one. So you have to see the risk which you are gonna take. Number 3, an opportunistic product. Now let's start with the structure, shall we? Structure, building a better startup. Structure is basically your building block that should fit according to your idea. Structure may change in the coming point, but this is the base and it contains 3 main elements. Number 1, corporative type. Number 2, business plan. Number 3, team. The first one is most technical and I am not going to go into great detail. I recommend that you should consult a good lawyer or accountant for this. Number 2, now let's move on to the second point, which is business plan. Until the mid-90s, you need a detailed business plan if you want to raise funds for your company. But now, today, it is simpler than ever. PowerPoint pitch are eventually everything in order to generate funds for your company. You can pitch your business plan just by making presentation in many different ways, but I'm gonna tell you the easy and the most effective ways. Step by step how to create most effective business presentation. In the summary, which I will link down in the description, I have explained every page, step by step guide, which I will link in the description. You can go and check it out for free, literally for free. Listen, the key here is to make your presentation simple and clear. Each page which you will design should not contain more than 3 points, and it should be straight to the point like this video is. To the point, no long intros, nothing like that. Finally, let's look at how you can build a founding team. I am not going to get into the discussion of employee hiring or give you some best suggestion regarding that. If you want a video on how to build a team, then comment down below. Instead, I would like you to consider whether you are going to go it all alone as a founder or bring in one more co-founder. This has always been a debatable question, so let's discuss that. Certainly, there are single entrepreneurs who have been highly successful with their startup. For example, Amazon, Tesla, SpaceX. But generally speaking, having someone as a co-founder has advantage. My suggestion is to go with someone you know very well and whom you can trust, who respect you and stand with you no matter what. Now the next point that I want you to talk about is raising money. It doesn't matter whether you are on startup, at some point you definitely need fund. Either to increase your production or to run your business. You need money for that. Now let's look at the 3 potential sources of investment. Number 1, friends and family. Number 2, angel investors, aka investors. Number 3, venture capitalists. Now, if you want to go into detail about this investment, you can check out on YouTube. There are tons of videos out there. If you search on YouTube how to generate money, how to contact investor, or how to find funds for a company, you'll get thousands of research. Number 2 in the phase, release. Get the damn thing out there. After years of hard work, seeing your product in people's hand is one of the best feeling in the world. You feel like you have won the battle, and it is totally true. All the sacrifice, patience, hard work pays off. Your product is finally out. You push yourself and your team to get your product out there in market. To facilitate this loop, let's look at some most common reasons why startups struggle to release their product, so you can get some idea. Number 1, not embarrassing EVP. Now what is EVP? EVP is basically the early product with enough feature so that it can be usable by early customer who can provide you the feedback, and later in the final product you can make changes according to the feedback. Most startups usually don't pay enough attention on EVP. They only focus on their final product, which is why they failed, and it can be their primary reason. Number 2, uncontrolled future. Uncontrolled future is set because most businesses and startups, their release phase is totally based on optimism, and especially in startup community. Number 3, shortage of resources. This is often a result of uncontrollable future. In beginning, every entrepreneur thinks that they have enough funds in their hand, but as soon as they come close near their release day, they find that they lack funds and other resources, which become an obstacle later. Number 4, feature creep. Feature creep are the one who is obsessed with adding features in their product. They think that they adding more and more feature will impress the customer and generate more sales, but that's not the true at all. You have to add feature or make changes according to customer requirement or their feedback. You can do this by an update or release next product with improvements. Don't be that entrepreneur who is obsessed with features. Number 5, lack of correct market definition. Young entrepreneurs make these mistakes. They misjudge their market and are early get into wrong path. They see their market as bigger and broader than it actually is, or they see what their market might become in future. They try to capture the whole market, but as a result they lose everything: capital, money, everything. That's why I recommend start small and then get bigger. Number 6, perfection. And I get it, man, you want your product to be perfect, and who doesn't? But that's not what I want you to believe in. Practice makes the man perfect. Entrepreneurs delay their product launch because they want their product to be perfect. How can you become perfect if you haven't tried it before? And beside that, there are some psychological challenges too they face. For example, fear of being judged or what people will think if I fail. Just shut the fuck up and do it. Now you may be asking, so what is good release? I believe a lot of people may be a fan of Steve Jobs, and don't get me wrong, I am too. And you may know that he refused to release a product until it's perfect. And maybe you found it interesting because yes, the first Apple computer was EVP product. So that brings me to the perfect release point. Number 1, aim on EVP. Number 2, release it. After you are done with EVP product, just release it. People think that they have to do some grand launch or organize a huge event like Apple do. But guess what? You don't have to. Facebook entered in the world barely with a champagne. That's it. You don't have to do anything crazy. Keep it clean and simple. Number 3, focus on initial customer acquisition. This is very important, so listen it very carefully. Obtaining customers is hard, and securing with initial customer is even harder. But the primary reason you need customer at this point is not for revenue or profit. That will come later. But for now, you have to keep your customer feedback first and foremost. So do whatever is required to bring in customer for the purpose of obtaining that feedback, and you have to be a little bit more creative into this. Number 4, facilitate feedback. It means contact them on a regular basis, and don't worry, some people love to give feedback of product, so go ahead and do it, baby. Number 5, listen. And number 6, keep your expense low.